Well, I hope all of us. Here, I want to talk about drugs. Drugs are bad unless they're used in the right or proper manner. Drug use and drug abuse can have detrimental effects on the user. Today, we will be talking about why drugs are a problem, what the causes of people using drugs, and some solutions to help combat against drugs. We know drugs are bad, but I want to tell you why. According to Department of Justice, drugs disrupt nerve cells for sending, receiving, and processing information. This can have a major impact on someone's daily life, and while on drugs, anything can happen. Now I want to talk about the problem. According to the Department of Justice, drugs speed up the release of dopamine. Dopamine is a release of reward or accomplishment feeling. This leads to something called tolerance. This is where people need more of something in order to get the same feeling or effect. As an example, someone could start taking drugs, they start getting addicted to it, and have a buildup of tolerance, in which means they want more and more in order to get the same feeling, which could really lead to them to their drug abuse and to their drug overdose, and then could lastly leave them with major health problems and or even death. For long-term, drugs can change things about a person like decision making, memory, and even personal behaviors. Drugs affect the people most closest to the one taking it and can really ruin someone's life. Now I want to talk about the cost. According to the Department of Justice, annually over $600 billion of damages are related to drug crimes and health relating to drugs. Drugs not only cause harm to the user, but also to the people and property around them. Hope you think twice before taking them. Drugs cause so much damage, but cost so little. The low cost associated with the drugs is caused by the rising availability.
All right, now that we've talked about the problem, I'm going to tell you what has caused people to use drugs. And one of the biggest reasons is the rising availability of these drugs. And this is especially goes with marijuana and opioid painkillers, mainly because of their legal uses. With marijuana being legalized for recreational and medicinal use across the United States, it is becoming much more available than it used to. And now I'm not saying that medicinal marijuana is bad in any way. I mean, I think it's a much better alternative to opioids, for example. It's just something that we need to address and to make sure that it's not abused like other drugs. Now let's turn to opioids. As of today, opioids are the most abused drug in the United States. In a study done by the CDC, they found that there were over 259 million prescriptions written in 2012. That is crazy. That is enough bottles for every adult in America to have one, and then some. But it's not just about the amount of prescriptions, it's about the size of them. And I actually have some personal experience with this. When I was in 10th grade, I had oral surgery. One of my teeth was sitting down in my gums wrong, and they had to correct it. So they cut my mouth open, attached the bracket and a chain, and attached that to my braces. Afterwards, they sewed me back up and prescribed me a bottle of Vicodin, which is opioids. And I mean, they're nice for the next couple of days. I mean, it hurts when they cut you open. But then after that, I just started taking aspirin, and I got the job done. And so when it was all said and done, I ended up taking 5 pills, but they prescribed me 40 of them. And there was no circumstance where I would have needed to take that many. And so I could have been taking them for 2 to 3 weeks, roughly. And that's just asking for someone to get addicted and to abuse those drugs. So the combination of doctors overprescribing them and prescribing too many pills is a problem that we really need to address. And the second reason is different environments that seem to promote drug use. In a study done by the National Center for Biotechnical Information, they found that people with more overall wealth and higher parental education are more likely to abuse drugs. And I mean, there are a couple of the more obvious reasons, such as they generally have more money, and it's just less of a financial obligation, if you will, to spend on drugs. And then also having overall better health, because I mean, when you feel crappy and you're sick, you usually don't want to get high, but I guess some people do. And interestingly enough, education is another big one, and more specifically college. And across the United States, it almost seems as if colleges promote drug use. And I'm not saying the colleges themselves, but the environment with all the students. With the students being away from their parents for the first time and having almost total freedom, more or less, it just is kind of like a breeding ground for people to want to use drugs and alcohol. Not saying that everyone does, but it just makes it much more available and much more likely. And whether you do it to fit in, or peer pressure for social use, it's just not a good alternative. And I know, me personally, I'm not spending $9,000 a semester to do drugs and party every weekend, but I digress. And though some environments seem to promote drug use, there are steps that we need to take to change that before this problem keeps getting worse.
A major solution to this growing problem is creating a quality environment for the children. According to drugabuse.gov, a child that goes through high school faces social and academic situations that expose them to drugs and alcohol. The environment a child grows up in can affect how they act and think. And that's why this is such a, this solution is such an effective way. Some ways we can create a quality environment include having guest speakers come to a local high school, creating signs promoting not to do drugs, or even keeping kids active in their community through sports, community projects like 4-H, summer camps, or even a job, so that they don't get drawn into the use of drugs. For people that already abuse drugs, there are multiple ways to help end their addiction. The most common way is to go to a rehab center. They offer counseling, one-on-one, and group therapy. These methods can help the user end their addiction by expressing what they've gone through, as well as how they feel. Another way drug users can battle addiction is by being around family and quality friends. They give them the encouragement they need to help end their addiction. With all this said, it's safe to say that drugs are bad unless they're used the right way and for the right reason. Today, we told you why drug use is a problem, what causes people to use drugs, and solutions to help combat drug use. A call to action is to teach the youth at an early age why drugs are bad and to create a safe environment so that drug abuse is put to an end. Although the problem of drug abuse may seem impossible to eliminate, there are concrete steps that can be taken to weaken the hold that drugs have on society. The danger from drugs is too great to ignore us